From revolutionary firebrand to the most powerful man in Iran, for over 3 decades, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been the architect of one of the most controversial and enduring political systems. In the modern Middle East, he didn't inherit power. He fought for it, shaped it, and defended it with an iron grip. And whether admired as a guardian of Iran's sovereignty or criticized as a symbol of authoritarian rule, his influence has echoed far beyond Tehran's walls. This is the story of a man who emerged from the wreckage of empire, rose through revolution, steered a nation through wars and sanctions, and became the supreme leader of Iran, the ultimate authority over military, political, and religious life. What drives him? What defines his leadership? And how has one cleric shaped not just a country, but an entire region for decades? Ali Khamenei, supreme leader of Iran, a revolutionary, a ruler, a controversial. What sacrifices were made? What cost was paid? Leadership and political influence. How did a young cleric rise from relative obscurity to become the final authority in the Islamic Republic? What does it mean to wield absolute, religious and political power in a nation of 85 million people? Controversies and internal struggles. Under his rule, Iran has weathered protests, economic collapse, nuclear standoffs, and generational unrest, issues that have polarized his legacy both inside and outside the country. Global impact and geopolitics. From the heart of Tehran to capitals around the world, Khamenei's decisions have influenced wars, alliances, and international diplomacy. His foreign policy choices have shaped conflicts across the Middle East and beyond. Protests in Tehran and major Iranian cities. Whether you see him as a defender of Iran or a polarizing ruler, one thing is undeniable. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's legacy will define a generation, and perhaps the future of the Middle East itself. To understand the man who would one day become the most powerful figure in Iran, we must first step into the humble alleys and sacred halls of a city known as one of Shia Islam's holiest centers, Mashhad. On 17th July 1939, in the spiritual cradle of northeastern Iran, Ali Hosseini Khamenei was born into a devout religious family. His father, Sayyid Javad Khamenei, was not just any cleric, a respected scholar and religious teacher, and his mother came from a lineage deeply rooted in Islamic faith and culture. Khamenei was the second of 8 children, and from the very beginning, religion was woven into the fabric of his everyday life. His earliest lessons didn't come from a typical classroom, but from a maktab, a traditional Islamic school where children begin memorizing the Quran from the age of 4. Surrounded by the rhythmic cadence of Arabic verses and the disciplined study of faith, young Ali absorbed his first teachings in Islamic law and spirituality. But Khamenei's education was far from ordinary. After mastering the basics in Mashhad, he progressed to the Hawza, the theological seminary, where his training went deeper and more demanding. Under the guidance of scholars such as Sheikh Hashem Kazvini and Ayatollah Milani, he dove into the complex world of Islamic jurisprudence, theology, and philosophy. It wasn't just schooling, it was a formative journey that sharpened his mind and hardened his conviction. In 1957, the young scholar traveled to Najaf in Iraq, one of the most revered centers of Shia study. But his stay was short, called back by his father. And by 1958 he had settled in Qom, Iran's spiritual heart, and the epicenter of Shia theological thought. There, his education took on a new dimension, studying under towering figures such as Sayyid Hossein Borujerdi and the rising revolutionary voice of Ruhollah Khomeini. It was here, in the corridors of Qom seminaries, where Khamenei didn't just learn religion, he was introduced to the powerful fusion of faith and politics that would later define his life. He wasn't content with simply mastering doctrine. He absorbed the ideas that called for activism, resistance, and a reimagined role for clerics in public life. This blend of religious discipline and political awakening would soon thrust him into the heart of Iran's turbulent struggle against the monarchy, setting the stage for the revolution that would transform not just his life, but the destiny of a nation. By the late 1970s, Iran was a nation simmering with discontent. Beneath the surface of modern development and oil wealth lay deep resentment against Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a ruler seen by many as a puppet of foreign powers and an enemy of traditional Islamic values. Into this storm stepped a young cleric shaped by faith, conviction, and a burning belief in a new order, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Khamenei had spent years in religious study and political activism, forging his identity as a loyal follower of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the exiled revolutionary, whose calls for the end of the monarchy resonated across Iran's cities and villages. As dissent grew, so too did Khamenei's involvement, not from the sidelines, but as an active voice pushing for radical change. Khamenei's involvement in the revolution. When the protests erupted nationwide in 1978-1979, Iran was swept into a wave of strikes, demonstrations, and defiance. While Khomeini coordinated from exile, his ideas spread through a network of clerics and activists inside Iran, with Khamenei firmly in the ranks. He was more than a supporter. He was a trusted lieutenant, delivering Khomeini's messages, organizing opposition cells, and helping mobilize the religious establishment against the Shah's regime. Khamenei's activism wasn't without risk. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, he was repeatedly arrested by the Shah's security forces, a testament to both his growing influence and the threat he posed to the monarchy. These arrests and brief imprisonments didn't silence him. If anything, they hardened his resolve. Relationship with Ayatollah Khomeini. At the heart of Khamenei's revolutionary rise was his connection with Ruhollah Khomeini, Iran's charismatic cleric whose sermons and writings galvanized the nation. Khamenei didn't just admire Khomeini, he became one of his closest confidants, a trusted executor of the revolutionary vision. When Khomeini's voice echoed through cassette tapes and printed pamphlets across Iran, smuggled into cities, bazaars, and mosques, Khamenei stood ready to amplify that message on the ground. Revolutionary activities and opposition to the Shah. As unrest transformed into outright revolution, Khamenei's role grew. He became a founding figure in the Islamic Republican Party, established to unify clerical support for overthrowing the monarchy and building a new Islamic state. With the Shah's power collapsing, Khamenei didn't just watch history, he helped make it. These weren't peaceful religious gatherings. They were political actions that challenged an entrenched regime, calling for its dismantling. As revolutionary fervor spread, Khamenei stood at the forefront of the clerical leadership that shaped what came next. Rise to prominence in post-revolution Iran. When the Shah fled Iran in early 1979 and the Islamic Republic was declared, Khamenei's influence skyrocketed. No longer a dissident in the shadows, he assumed key roles in the emerging system. Shortly after Khomeini's return from exile, Khamenei was appointed to the Revolutionary Council, a powerful body tasked with overseeing the transformation of the state. From there, he became Deputy Defense Minister and later, Tehran's Friday Prayer Leader, roles that cemented his position at the heart of Iran's new political order. In the aftermath of Iran's revolution, Khamenei's path was no longer that of an underground activist. He had become a main architect of the new regime. But his journey had only just begun. It would be his loyalty to the revolutionary cause, his strategic alliances, and his consolidation of power that would eventually propel him to the most powerful position in the Islamic Republic. The supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, played an active role in the 1979 revolution and was a close associate of Ruhollah Khomeini, later rising through post-revolution institutions and leadership. The Islamic Republican Party was established to consolidate clerical influence after the revolution. After the tumult of revolution, Iran faced the daunting task of rebuilding a nation torn by years of monarchy, war, and unrest. Into this new landscape stepped Ali Khamenei, no longer an underground revolutionary, but a rising political figure entrusted with shaping the Islamic Republic's future. Election as President of Iran, 1981-1989. In October 1981, Khamenei was elected President of Iran, a position he held for 2 consecutive terms until 1989. As president, he was tasked with navigating one of the most challenging periods in Iran's history, a country still healing from revolution, engulfed in the Iran-Iraq War, and under the shadow of economic sanctions and political upheaval. His presidency required balancing the demands of a revolutionary ideology with the practicalities of governance. Khamenei oversaw domestic reconstruction, strengthened Iran's centralized government, and implemented policies aimed at stabilizing an economy under extreme strain. He also emphasized religious education and the integration of Islamic principles into national policy. Key policies and domestic initiatives. Under Khamenei, the government focused on economic stabilization amidst wartime scarcity, promoting Islamic culture and education in schools and universities, strengthening infrastructure damage during the revolution and conflict, expanding social programs to support war-affected families. Though resources were limited and challenges immense, Khamenei sought to establish a strong ideological framework for the Islamic Republic, embedding religion into governance while managing the practical demands of a nation at war. relationship with religious authorities, and the Revolutionary Guard. A key feature of Khamenei's presidency was his careful cultivation of relationships with religious authorities and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. The IRGC, formed after the revolution to protect the new order, became a central pillar of Iran's security and political power. Khamenei ensured the Guard's loyalty while maintaining strong ties with senior clerics, consolidating theocratic influence within the executive branch. Challenges faced: economic, social, and international. Khamenei's presidency was far from easy. The Iran-Iraq War, 1980-1988, consumed resources and cost hundreds of thousands of lives, placing enormous pressure on governance. Economically, sanctions and internal instability created scarcity, inflation, and social unrest. Politically, factions within Iran often clashed, testing his ability to maintain unity. Internationally, Iran was isolated, facing hostility from Western powers while trying to navigate regional tensions. Despite these formidable challenges, Khamenei emerged with his authority intact, reputation strengthened, and political alliances secured. His presidency set the stage for his eventual elevation to supreme leader, the ultimate position of power in Iran, becoming supreme leader. By 1989, as the nation mourned the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, Khamenei was poised to step into a role that would place him at the pinnacle of Iranian power. But the path to supreme leader was not automatic. It required strategic consolidation, loyalty from clerics, and command over both political and military structures, foreign policy, and international relations. As supreme leader, Ali Khamenei's influence extends far beyond Iran's borders. He is not just the religious and political heart of a nation. He is a central figure on the world stage, shaping regional dynamics, international conflicts, and global diplomacy for decades. Stance on the U.S., Israel, and Western countries. Khamenei has been a consistent critic of the United States, Israel, and Western influence in the Middle East. He has repeatedly described the U.S. as the Great Satan, warning that foreign interference threatens Iran's sovereignty. Israel is considered an illegitimate state in his rhetoric, and he has supported policies opposing Israeli interests throughout the region. These positions are more than words. They define Iran's foreign policy, shape military strategy, and influence its alliances. Western sanctions, international isolation, and repeated tensions with the U.S. and Europe have all occurred under his leadership, making Khamenei a central figure in modern geopolitical conflicts. Support for regional allies and proxy groups. Khamenei has also extended Iran's influence across the Middle East by supporting regional allies and proxy groups, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to militias in Iraq and Syria. These alliances give Tehran strategic depth and influence. While critics call these moves destabilizing, Khamenei sees them as essential to defending Iran's borders and ideological reach. Role in Iran's nuclear program and international negotiations. One of the most high-stakes aspects of Khamenei's foreign policy is Iran's nuclear program. He has repeatedly framed nuclear development as a sovereign right for Iran, while insisting that weapons of mass destruction are forbidden under Islam. Under his leadership, Iran has negotiated with global powers, faced international sanctions, and maneuvered carefully between escalation and diplomacy. From the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, negotiations to more recent tensions with the West, Khamenei has remained the ultimate decision-maker, guiding Iran's international strategy with a blend of ideological conviction and pragmatic caution. Responses to global crises and conflicts. Khamenei's influence also extends to global crises, from conflicts in Syria and Iraq to regional humanitarian emergencies. His statements and directives have often determined Iran's stance, whether sending aid, military support, or political backing to allied regimes and groups. Critics argue this involvement fuels instability, while supporters claim it strengthens regional security and protects Iran's interests. Ali Khamenei has always maintained a relatively low-profile family life. Married with children, he has been careful to keep his home and loved ones away from the spotlight of political power. Unlike many global leaders, his private moments, celebrations, family gatherings, or quiet reflection are rarely seen, creating an aura of mystery around his personal world. This discretion reflects a deliberate separation between his public authority and personal life, allowing Khamenei to maintain a private sanctuary amid the pressures of leading a nation with tens of millions of citizens. Khamenei's life is deeply intertwined with religion. Daily prayers, fasting during Ramadan, and a strict adherence to Islamic rituals are central to his routine. Known for his disciplined lifestyle, he wakes early, dedicates significant hours to study, and surrounds himself with scholarly texts and clerical counsel. He is not a man of extravagance. His lifestyle is modest, reflecting both personal belief and the image of humility expected from a religious leader. Even in moments of leisure, he is known to enjoy reading, reflection, and attending religious discussions, cultivating a life focused on knowledge and piety. Public image versus private persona. To the world, Khamenei is a commanding figure, authoritative, resolute, and unwavering. Yet privately, those close to him describe a man of contemplation, intellectual rigor, and deep conviction. The contrast between the public leader, who commands the Revolutionary Guard and addresses millions, and the private scholar, who studies ancient texts and reflects quietly, creates a complex portrait of a man who balances power with devotion. Khamenei's character is as polarizing as his politics. Supporters admire his steadfastness, religious devotion, and commitment to Iran's independence and Islamic principles. For them, he embodies strength, wisdom, and continuity. Critics, however, view him as authoritarian, inflexible, and resistant to reform, a figure whose personal convictions sometimes clash with calls for social and political change. Through a life of discipline, faith, and steadfast leadership, Ali Khamenei has remained an enigmatic figure, a man whose private world is largely unseen, yet whose influence is undeniable. Understanding his character helps us see not just the leader, but the human being behind the office of Iran's supreme leader. From the quiet streets of Mashhad to the sacred halls of Qom, from a revolutionary fighter opposing a monarchy to the most powerful office in Iran, Ali Khamenei's journey is a story of faith, strategy, and unwavering ambition. Summary of his journey. Khamenei's life has been defined by resilience and conviction. A devout scholar, he transformed into a revolutionary, then a political leader, and finally the supreme leader, guiding Iran through wars, sanctions, internal unrest, and complex international relations. His rise was neither instant nor easy. It was a journey shaped by ideology, loyalty, and calculated action. Reflection on power, ideology, and impact. Khamenei's influence is both national and global. Domestically, he has shaped Iran's politics, society, and religious life for over 3 decades. Internationally, his policies have defined Iran's stance toward the West, influenced regional conflicts, and drawn attention from governments worldwide. His ideology, a fusion of Islamic principles and political pragmatism, continues to guide Iran's path and challenge global norms. Thought-provoking ending line. Ali Khamenei remains one of the most influential and polarizing figures of the 21st century, a leader whose decisions continue to shape the destiny of a nation and whose legacy will be studied for generations to come.